see someone. I can't read that on. Come join our Facebook group. All right.
Yeah, it's our Facebook group. Do you do Facebook much, Dave?
No.
Thank goodness.
I don't do any social media.
Thank goodness.
Facebook, Twitter, none of the stuff. I'm too old to get started now. I have a flip phone. That tells you anything.
Flip phone. One of our moderators in our group, Eric Lazinski, still has a flip phone, and we make fun of him every now and then.
Well, I tell people there's only one thing about a smartphone that's really smart. That's the guy that sold it to you.
There you go. That's exactly right. I like
smart.
that.
Yeah, he was smart.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, we are live now in the group, and we're going to have a bunch of people start filing in, and they're going to be excited to have you part of our group here. But first of all, I'd like to welcome you again. I know we've been talking for a few minutes, but I'd like to welcome you to our group. We're super excited, man. We believe in acknowledging the people that have got our Green Bay Packers to where they are today. If it's okay, I'd like to run down just a little bit of your history. I've done a bunch of research myself, and tell me if I'm wrong. Is that fair?
That's good with me. Fire away. I'll correct you if you're wrong.
All right. You were drafted 1963, round one?
Right.
Okay.
First round. The last man in the first round. Green Bay Packers being world champions in 62, they drafted last. So I was the 14th pick.
14th pick. Okay. You went to Penn State?
Correct.
Okay.
I played before Joe Paterno was head coach.
Okay.
That means one thing, I'm old. and one of the trivia questions of all time was, what coach did Joe Paterno replace? My head coach was Rip Engle, E-N-G-L-E.
Rip Engle.
Rip Engle. He called an old great Eagle. Yeah, it's an interesting story. Rip Engle was a coach of Brown, and Joe was his quarterback. And in fact, Joe, I think, still holds some records of Brown, passing records. And then Joe graduated, and Rip had him as a graduate assistant at Brown, teaching him the offense. The next year, Rip Engle got the job at Penn State, and he asked Joe to come along because he's only 2 years from being an active quarterback, and he could show the people at Penn State the new offense he's bringing in, show them how to run it. And Joe didn't want to do it at first, and Rip kind of begged him. He said, okay, so I'll come. But I can only stay about 4, maybe 5 years, and I got to be going back to my business. Rip said, fine, that'll be enough. That was in 1950.
Wow.
He never left.
Never left.
Never left.
You played with the Green Bay Packers from 1963 to 1972.
Correct.
Washington Redskins, 1973 to 1974.
Actually, parts of 75, I went to training camp, and I went into the season, one game, and then I retired.
Okay.
It was a long story. Believe it or not, the management was at that time. The management was getting trying to save money. Okay, and they said that I was making too much money for a linebacker. George Allen was my coach, and George was a little shaky with them, and they were trying to get rid of George and everything else. And George told me that the ownership told him that they could buy, and that's the word he used, could buy 3 linebackers for my salary. And so they wanted to trade me at a no-trade clause. And I said, no, I'd rather retire than be traded. Wow. And so I retired. And I was making a whopping $81,000 a year.
$81,000 a year. Holy moly. And what did Aaron Rodgers just sign for?
The numbers are too high for me to count. The funny thing is I came out of Penn State, #1 draft pick, and I got a $15,000 signing bonus and $15,000 a year for the first 2 years. So I got a total of $45,000. 30 years later, I'm trying to think, the guy was defensive tackle came out of Penn State, first-round draft pick. He got the same thing.
Same thing.
5,000. But the difference was, where I had a decimal point, he had a comma. He got 45 million.
Wow.
I said, what a difference in time. I told my dad, I said, you should have waited. He said, son, I couldn't. But that was was a lot difference in 30 years, Nate.
Man.
Yeah.
In this time, you were a 3-time NFL champion.
Right.
You went to 2 Super Bowls, number 1 and number 2, obviously.
Right.
3-time Pro Bowl, 66, 67, and 69.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
You were Pro Bowl MVP in 1967.
Now see, I always put down 68 because it was a 67 season.
67 season, right.
But the Pro Bowl was played in January 68.
Okay.
Well, I'd say 68, so it's just a matter of semantics.
You just recently in 2013, were inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Well, it's not the NFL Hall of Fame. It's called Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Pro Football.
Technically, somebody who plays in Canada or somebody who played in the USFL, they're all eligible to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But between you and I and the gatepost, it's the Hall of Fame is all made up of NFL ball players right now. But they're all eligible. Any professional football player is eligible for the Hall of Fame.
Now, in that time, I got some, and we need some clarification here, so I need your help. But you intercepted 27 passes for 1 touchdown in that time.
Right.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, you got to understand that times are different. I have in my resume, if you check it out, well, you wouldn't check it out. There were at least three other times I had the ball, intercepted the ball, and I was in a position to score and got down right to the goal line and was tackled. In those days, before instant replay, before people really cared about where the ball was when you go down, they would automatically put the ball where your knee hit.
Okay.
So like my knee hit one time on the 8-inch line, so of course the ball had to be over the goal line, but they put the ball on the 8-inch line.
Wow.
That's the way it was. The times are different.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to start hitting you with some of these crazy Packer fans with some of the questions they have.
Okay.
One right here is from a guy you might know of. We talked about him a little bit before we went live.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chris Jackie himself is in our group, and he wanted to know, who's your favorite kicker of all time?
Well, he's Chris. Chris knows that. He's my man. In fact, I promised him and did deliver it. I mentioned his name during my induction speech for the Hall of Fame, and I wouldn't have mentioned it. That if he had been my favorite kicker, I wouldn't put him down.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm kind of a little partial to Paul Hornung, but Chris is still my favorite. Much better kicker than Paul.
All right, I love that guy. I really do.
Yeah.
Now, James Randolph wants to know, what was one of your favorite moments playing professional football?
When after Super Bowl I, when I took the check to the bank and it didn't bounce. That was my most favorite moment in football. So Super Bowl I, obviously, is the game leading up to Super Bowl I is a big game in my life because, as you know, we got off to an early start. We were playing Dallas, 1966 championship game, January the 1st, 67. And we got early to a 14-point lead. And then they did some things that, in hindsight, I know how we could correct them, but hindsight's always 20/20. And they were coming back. And we were winning the game, I think it was 24-17. I'm almost positive. Oh, no, 34-27. That's right, 34-27, take it back. And they would come down. And let me give you a little background. First of all, they had the ball second and goal on the 1-yard line. And they ran a rollout my way. And I didn't have the force. Someone else had the force. And the way the force is, a rollout or bootleg, you're supposed to come up in front to guard. Make the guard block you so the quarterback has to make a decision, it's going to run or pass. And that's how you do it. Well, the guy played it exactly right. And Don Meredith pulled up and threw a pass and hit the tight end in the stomach with the ball, and he dropped it. He right in the chest, went down, and he dropped the ball. Well, you don't hear much about the play because of the same play, the left guard was in motion, moved the ball back to the 6-yard line, and then second and goal for the 6. Now, a couple plays later, it's 4th and goal. They're on our 2-yard line. It's 52 seconds left to go in the game, and it's all the marbles on the line. And I told people I don't pray during the game, but I did say to myself, Lord, if they're going to run the ball, let them run ready at me because I know I'm ready. I'm not sure with the other 10 guys, but I'm ready. Come my way, yeah.
You ready? You're going to take care of business.
And sure enough, they started that rollout. Now I didn't know, but I suspected that if I did the things the way they wanted me to do it, the way it's drawn up, they say you always get what you always got if you always do what you've always done. Mm-hmm. So I said, I know what he's going to do if I make him pull up the pass. He's going to throw it. Now, what are the chances of the tight end dropping 2 balls? Not very good. I said, I figured I had to do something different. And what they did, this time they brought Bob Hayes in tight. And Bob Hayes was on me. And when the ball was snapped, Bob Hayes tried to release, and I held him on the line of scrimmage. Defense, by the way, can hold on the line. And I held him so he couldn't get free. I mean, play guard. I know what the guard's keys are. The guard pulls. If he sees that the end's got the man blocked, he goes on to the next man. Well, when Bob struggling to get free and me holding, it looked like Bob had blocked me. So the guard passed Bob and I. When he went past us, I released Bob, went behind the guard, and ran down Don Meredith. It's a very risky play because if Don Meredith had been as fast as he thought he was, or if I had been as slow as he thought I was, he could have beat me to the corner, but he didn't. I got a hold of him and had him, and I had his whole left side was paralyzed, and I couldn't get his right arm. His right arm was the only thing free, and he took the ball and just lobbed the underhand pass to get rid of it. On his way down, halfway down, we were both laying parallel to the ground. He was maybe 2 feet off the dirt, and he lobbed it, went in the end zone. Tom Brown intercepted the ball, and he took a knee or whatnot. So we got the ball in the 20, and we took a knee, and the game was over. Every part of that play was very important because, number one, we had to win that game. If we don't win that game, Dallas, if they tied it up or kicked it, went for 2 or whatever happened in overtime, then they would have gone to Super Bowl I. Had they gone to Super Bowl I, I think Dallas could have beaten Kansas City at that point in time. Having done that trophy today would probably be the Tom Landry trophy, not the Vince Lombardi trophy. Tom Brown and I say we named the trophy. And the reason why I say Tom Brown is he was very instrumental because if Don Meredith had, instead of just throwing the ball away, had eaten the ball and going down and taking the sack like a man, not like a man, that's a bad ball term, but taking the sack, we would have had the ball on the 2-yard line. You know what the significance of that is? You can't take a knee. When you take a knee, you lose 2.5 yards. If we had tried to take a knee from the 2-yard line, we'd have been in the end zone. It would have been a safety. We have to punt the ball to the Dallas Cowboys. By him lobbing the ball and Tom Brown intercepted it, we got the ball on the 20. There, from the 20-yard line, we took a knee and the game was over.
That is awesome.
All things, and it just shows you got to be thinking all the time. It's a game that you have to think about. You can't be guessing out there and trying to just do things. You got to know what's going on. I really did figure that if they were going to come at me and with a rollout up, I had to do something different than what was done on second down. I knew that. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew it was going to have to be something different. When I saw Bob Hayes, I was kind of relieved because Bob Hayes weighed 175 pounds. He's fast, real fast, fastest man in the world. But Bob Hayes, if he had a twin brother and 2 more guys, couldn't have blocked me. I knew that. So I wasn't worried about Bob Hayes blocking me. So whatever it was, if they came in, and usually when the end is in tight, there's going to be some action at that spot. I was going to stop it. I knew I had to stop. I had that much confidence in it. And that's what. Now, after the play was over, Vince Lombardi, who designed it the way I told you, at the front to guard, he came up to me and said something, I'm paraphrasing, said something, way to go, Robbie. He hit me on the back. Said, great play. He says, however, that's not the way it's designed. Says, you're going to get a -2 on the play. And he laughed. Then he gave me that big Lombardi laugh, and walked away. Now, I don't know if I got a -2 or not. It's reported that I did, but I never saw the grades in the game because it was the last game of the season. And, we don't see the grades.
Man, that is awesome. That's awesome. That brings up another question here. You brought up Vince Lombardi. One of our great moderators, Kurt Schmidt, asked, what was Vince like behind the scenes, off the field? What was he like to you? What kind of inspiration was he to you?
Well, I had a real great high school coach, and I thought he was one of the best around, and he was a good coach. And then I went to Penn State where I had Joe Paterno and Rip Engel, and they were better. There's a marked difference in improvement in coaching, and I expected that. And then when I left Penn State, I came to Green Bay, and sure enough, the coaching here was better than it was at Penn State. I expected that also. Not until I left Green Bay and went somewhere else and started seeing other coaches that I realized how good Vince Lombardi was. Vince Lombardi was head and shoulders above other coaches. And you can't, if you just come down the lines I did in the natural progression, you think you have to assume that all pro coaches are that good. They weren't. I'll give you an example. I had another Hall of Fame coach in George Allen, as I mentioned. Great coach, by the way, very good coach. But George never won the championship. He had great teams that fell down during the postseason. Vince came from New York to Green Bay, took over a team, was 1-10-1. Worst team in the league. First year, he had his first winning season at 7-5. The second year, with the worst team in the league, the second year, he played for the World Championship and lost in the last 2 minutes. And he promised the team they'd never see that again. He never lost another playoff game. Every time he got in the playoffs, after that, he won the Super Bowl championship.
Man.
That's the thing about Vince Lombardi. And I think the reason was he and George Allen were very similar. They both thought if you do something and say something 1,000 times, you react without thinking. You can't have time to think. So 1,000 times when did it. The difference was George Allen presented you the problem 1,000 times the same way, over and over and over again. Vince Lombardi would show it to you 1,000 times, 1,000 different ways. Every time was new and fresh. Vince Lombardi, with George Allen, I found that we would play the games during the season. He would get us so high for every game, get us up for every game like it was live or die. And by the time we went through a 16-game, well, we had 14-game schedule, and you got to the playoffs, you're burnt out. He'd used all of his tricks, and the things he said to you didn't motivate you like they did in week 1 and 2 and 3. Now, Vince Lombardi, by doing things differently every time, when he got to the playoffs, he came way out of left field with things you never thought about, brand new motivations, and he kept you going. And you played. You were just as excited as you ever could be in the playoffs as you were first game of the season. And an example is before Super Bowl II, he started on Wednesday. He said something to us about something I can't remember now. He said somebody, Jesus Christ was a great man, and his favorite disciples were around him. 12 men and disciples were always around him. And we took this, he's going to preach. And he didn't say nothing else about it the rest of the day. And then the next day, Thursday, he said something about, of all the disciples, I think St. Paul is my favorite. And that's all he said about it. And then I'm not sure if it was Friday or Saturday, and he pulled all together. He said, I think it was Saturday. He said, when this season started, every team in the National Football League was in first place with a record of 0-0-0. No wins, no ties, no losses. He said, tonight there's going to be one winner and one win only. Everyone else is a loser. Those are things in second place. And I say, as St. Paul told the Corinthians, and it's in quoted chapter verse, 2 Corinthians, I think, 14, 20, something. Anyway, I'm not sure the verse, chapter and verse, but 2 Corinthians, he said, and he quoted, St. Paul said, there are many runners in the race, but there's only one winner. Run to win. And in fact, we put that on our Super Bowl ring, championship ring. It says run to win. That was it. And he had been pulling up since Wednesday, built it up in us. And then he brand new. And he said, then he went on and elaborated on it. You go out there today, if you play, you run to win. You play to win this game. You come back in here, you'll be champions, world champions. The only champion in the National Football League, you'll be it. If you don't play to win, you don't run to win, you're just another loser. Just another one of the masses. In the days where there'd be 1 to 31 losers. There's no such thing as second place. And I tell you, I can't use the inflection of my voice. I can't have the emotion that Vince expressed when he said it. But when he said it, it's someone that said, Dave, I want you to get the quarterback, but he's behind that steel door. I just went after him right through the door. Tried to anyway, because I was that fired up, ready to go. He could just do it. He get you that fired up. When you went on the field, you were keyed up. And It was very interesting because, and then I went down in the front because they would introduce the defense. I was like the second or third man down there. And they waiting for that missing man formation to fly over with the Jets.
Yeah.
And it was late. And we were standing in the tunnel about 5 minutes. And Vince turned to Willie Davis and said, Willie, he says, look at my team. I'm losing them. And he looked up the tunnel, and you see the guys are starting to relax, starting to get jovial. You can see that the tension, the excitement was leaving them. They were getting very – they lost the key. They lost the edge. He said, Willie, we got to keep this team together at halftime so I get a chance to talk to them again. And I don't know if you remember this game. It was very close to halftime. I think it was like 14-9. I forget the score was. But the game was still in doubt at halftime. We had a lead, but not a real big lead. And he went back up and he talked to us, and that was it. Game was over. Game, set, match. But that's how it was. That's what I learned a lot about the man. A big deal of respect. He knew what he was doing. He knew how to control people. And he said the reason why we lost that game in 1960 was because he and the other coaches had never coached a championship game before. He said, now we know we'll never lose another one. He said, you guys didn't lose a game. We did as coaches. He took all the blame. And I'll tell you something else. That game, having lost that game, Vince never talked about it, didn't allow to talk about it, and that was it. When I left here, they traded me to Washington. Washington had just gotten beat by Miami in Miami's perfect season. I got to Washington, and all the guys were sitting around, and they were talking about the great time they had in L.A. at the Super Bowl, wherever it was, at the Super Bowl, what a great trip it was, blah, blah, blah. And then they got the loser's ring. Now, you understand, if you go to the Super Bowl, you are a conference champion. So, like, Philadelphia went there as an NFC champion, and New England was the AFC champion. So even though New England lost, they get an AFC championship ring, which the players tend to call a loser's ring. We did in Green Bay anyway. There's no way Vince Lombardi would have won the ring. There's no way he didn't want people to talk about that loss. I mean, in the third year, a team had gone from 110-1 to the championship, and they lost in the last 2 minutes, and people think they should have won the game, but he wasn't allowed to talk. It was a loss. He didn't want to talk about it. You didn't talk about it. And in fact, when we got to Washington, my wife said, she told me one day, said, what's wrong with these people? I said, I was talking to some of the wives, and they're talking about what a great time they had at the Super Bowl, and then the rings they got. She said, aren't they losers' rings? I said, yeah. So why? He said, how can they enjoy going to a game and losing? So it shows that Vince Lombardi even had control of the minds of the wives, and that was the difference. It's the feeling that Vince Lombardi had in our team wasn't out there from other teams, and in fact, George Allen, God bless his soul, he's a great man, but he really talked. He gave pep talks about how we went to the Super Bowl, and he kept mentioning that game over and over again. And Vince never mentioned that loss in Philadelphia.
Never spoke about it. You got your rings on right now?
No, I don't.
No? Okay. All right.
They're back in the hotel.
Okay.
The problem is I've lost some weight, and my fingers have gotten smaller, and the rings fall off, and I don't wear them all the time.
I told you beforehand when we spoke, you look good. You look good.
You got it. Okay. All right.
Now, Dave, let me ask you something. You talked positive about Vince. Was there ever a time that he really came down on you?
Yes and no. When he came down on you, let me start another way. When my wife came up here the first year, my second year in the league, the first time she was here, and Marie Lombardi called her into the house. She always called the new wives over to discuss things with him. How you doing in Green Bay? What's it like? My wife told her, said, well, the only problem I have is that Dave goes to camp, practice, and Vince howls at him all day. He comes home and howls at the kids and I. And she said, I don't know if I can stand it. Marie Lombardi told my wife, and she told me later, she said, tell Dave that Vince Lombardi only howls at you if he thinks you have potential, if you think you can do something. When he stops talking, when he stops howling at you, look out, because you're going to be on something, the boats, planes, trains, and buses leave here, and you'll be in one of them. And so after that, I went back to camp. And then Vince Howard, I was like, what are you doing out there? I said, oh, shit, he likes me. he must think I got potential. But no. But we had to play. We were in 1967 in New York City. We were playing the New York Giants. That's when they had Homer Jones and Fran Tarkenton. They were the number one offense in the league at that point. We were the number one defense. It was built up as the big game of the week because number one offense gets number one defense. And one of the first plays of the game, they ran a play where the fullback came up, put his hand on my inside like he hit me with a right shoulder block. Like he's trying to take me out. And I closed across his face and filled the inside hole. The running back, instead of trying to come through the inside hole, veered outside. And Homer Jones had run a deep pattern and took Herb out of the picture. And they ended up about 8 yards in the play. So, and then he tried on Caffey's side. We got together and said, we can't block. We can't play that way we normally do. And that guy comes, looks like he's going to block us out. We're going to have to play into his body and drive the fullback into the hole, jam the hole. So if the guy veers, we make the tackle. That's what we did. And we shut it down. Well, that game, I had 2 interceptions, a sack on Tarkenton, and a partially blocked punt. And I got Defensive Player of the Week. And I went back home and told my wife, I said, I don't want to go to camp. We had Mondays off. I said, I didn't want to go to practice Tuesday. She said, why? I said, Vince is going to yell at me about something. I don't know what it's going to be. He's going to get on my case. Sure enough, he talked about that play, and he talked about how that play was so bad. He said, have Phil run that play 1,000 times this week. So you're going to see it again because you send 2 films to the next 2 teams. Your last 2 films or tape now go to the team you're going to play this Sunday. So he said they're going to see it the next 2 weeks. You look for that play, and sure enough, in some ways in the play in the second or third set of series down, they ran the play and we stopped it. And then the next week the same thing, and then it kind of died down. 3-4 weeks later, we're going to play. Let's say we're playing St. Louis. St. Louis had played the Giants the week after we played them. So Vince knew that they had gotten our film. Vince came to me and said, Dave, be ready. He said, that play the Giants ran? Yes, he said, expect it this week from St. Louis in the first series. They're going to see if you learn how to defend that play. And I said, oh, he said, I'm going to have Phil running at you 100 times this week. And they did. They ran it over and over again. The first play of the game, they ran that play on me in St. Louis. And I stopped it. We didn't see it anymore. That's the way that Vince was. That's how impressed. He just knew what was going on. He was just a great guy. And but anyway, that's when he got on me about that play. But we worked it out. But he did something that most coaches don't do. When a team is down, most coaches know they have to get the team up. But a winning coach like Vince Lombardi, he understands one other thing. When a team has a superior game, big upset, great game, they're on top of the world, the wife is telling them how good they are. The friends are telling them how great they played. The newspaper, the TV is telling them you're the greatest thing since bubblegum. And they got a big head. A good coach, i.e. Vince Lombardi, brings you back down to reality, back down to the ground, and get your feet on the ground so you're ready to play the next week. That's what he was doing me. He knew I had a great game. I had 3 brothers, and 2 of them were at the game. 3 of my brothers. I had 4 brothers. I forgot how many brothers I had. 3 of my brothers, my mother were at the game in New York, because I'm from New Jersey. So at the Yankee Stadium, and then all the big hip hurrah, and I had one of my better games, no doubt in my mind. And he knew I was way up. I was walking on air. I knew that Tuesday he had to do something to bring me back down to the earth. Bring me back, and that's what he did. He took that one play that they ran one time that I looked bad on and just beat me with it until he let me know you're not as good as you think you are, Mr. Robinson. And then I was back down. I can give you numerous examples where teams have unexpected big wins and then go against a mediocre opponent the next week and fall flat on the face. They let those guys walk around all week with a head cloud in the sky, their head up high, and then stink up the joint the next week.
So basically what you're saying is you're only as good as your next game.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's only human nature to go back and want to celebrate when they had a big victory. You got to get them back to reality.
That's right.
Get them back. And Vince did that very well.
That's awesome.
He's a great football coach. And,
I don't want to keep you much longer. I have two more simple questions for you.
All right, I got two long answers.
All right, I'm ready for them. Number one is, who was your favorite teammate?
Well, I have to say Lionel Aldridge was my roommate. We bonded. We were roommates in it. So, I mean, I can't think of anybody who on the team that I didn't really like and love like a brother. And there was and Lionel's going, of course, but Lionel was my favorite because we spent so much time together. We had so many secrets, things that I can't even say. He's been dead a long while. I can't even tell you about him now. The secrets we had and different things, but we were very close.
That's awesome.
Elijah Pitts was my roommate at home one year, and Elijah and I got to be real good friends, and our wives were close, and so Elijah was one of my good friends too.
If you could share any message out there with the Green Bay Packer fans, because we kind of consider ourselves unique fans, what do you think of these cheeseheads out there? And if you had a message for them, what would you tell them?
Well, I don't think I know our fans are special. I mean, like I said in my acceptance speech at the Hall of Fame, everybody's going to get up here and tell you what great fans that they have in their hometown. But nobody but a Green Bay Packer can say that our fans are our owners. That's right. And that they own the team. Right. And they have all the enthusiasm of ownership. Somebody they have a vested interest in everything we do. And they bleed for us. And it's not like they just – other fans pay the dollar, whatever it is, the $100 to go to the game, and they go to the game and they expect to be entertained. The Green Bay Packers have invested in our team. That's what the fans have done. If I had one thing to tell them is I want them to understand how important they are to the success of our team. We love the fans. We think we got the best fans in the world. And as long as they show that dedication and investment in the team, we're going to keep winning. And I know the Packers had some down times. It wasn't the fans' fault. But even when the team was having a down period, the fans were with us. They protected their investment. And now it's time for them to reap the benefits. And that's why I think we're going to bring the Lombardi Trophy back to Green Bay in the year 2019.
I love it. I love it. Dave, thank you very much for spending this time with us tonight. Do you think maybe in the future we could bring you back another time? It wasn't too painful, was it?
No. In fact, if any time at all, maybe if I can't come to dance, maybe I can do something for my home. We'll work something out.
I would love that.
And if you have any more questions you want some answers to, jot them down and text me, email me, or send them to me, and I'll see if I can answer them.
I'll do that. I'll get my information. I'll get yours from Dave if possible, and would love to have you more in the future. And I've got a million questions for you myself, and so I don't want to keep too much time, but I've enjoyed hearing. For me, I get goosebumps listening to you. I do. And you talk about we don't understand the message that Vince brought across, because he said it with the voice and fluctuations like you talked about. But I'm sitting here and I have goosebumps just from listening to you.
You had to be in the room with the man. He was something else. Like I said before, there are a lot of good coaches in the league. George Allen was one of them, but there was only one Vince Lombardi. Just think about it. He took a team that was the worst team in the league, the worst by far, and only lost one playoff game in his whole career. Never again. The last game he coached in New York as an offensive coordinator was the 58 championship game against the Baltimore Colts, which ended in a tie, first tie in NFL history. And the Giants won the toss. They got the ball, and they were going down the field, and they got stopped. 4th and 1. Vince Lombardi went to the head coach there, Jim Lee Howell, and said, I think we should go for it. Any good team can make a yard. Tom Landry was the defense coordinator. He told Jim Lee Howell, said, no, that's not right. The logical thing to do is to punt the ball and let my defense hold them. Well, he sided with Landry, and he punted the ball. And the Colts got the ball, marched down the field, scored a touchdown. Game, set, match. The game was over. Baltimore Colts were the world champion. Marie said that Vince always thought he was right. They should have gone for it. 9 years later, 9 years later, December 31st, 1967, Ice Bowl. We're on the 1 yard line, 16 seconds to go. Bart Starr calls timeout, comes to the sideline and tells Vince, well, I think that I can get better footing. I'm going to take the quarterback sneak, basically. Vince says, go ahead and run the ball. Let's get out of here. What you don't hear is that the Dallas team went over and talked to Tom Landry. Tom Landry told them the only thing Lombardi can do is run a rollout or bootleg so if is not there, he can throw the ball away and stop the clock. They said they came back and the whole Dallas line, they said they were playing a little soft, favoring the outside, looking for the bootleg and rollout, and we go right up the middle. Scored a touchdown. As Marie said, after 9 years, Vince proved that any good team can make 1 yard and win the game. And that's how Vince was. So it's just a great guy. He's just a great guy, and so many things. I could talk on and on situations like that, on and on. But when Vince went in to get to talk to Wellington Meyer about the offer he had at Green Bay, because he wanted to coach the Giants. That was his golden life, to coach the New York Giants. And he told him, he said, Vinny, I'm going to talk to you like you're my son. If I were you, I'd take the job in Green Bay, because when Jim Lee Howell retires, the next head coach of the Giants is going to be Allie Sherman. And Vince came to Green Bay. And I understand he had a clause in his contract that said if he ever got offered a job at New York, he could leave here and go back to New York. But and I heard also that Wellington Meyer tried to get before Super Bowl I, he tried to get Vince to come back to New York. And Vince said, no, he had to stay here because he had his mind set on being the first person to win 3 consecutive world championships. And he knew he had the material here in Green Bay to do it, and going to New York, he didn't know if he had to start all over again. So, but that's how it was. He was just everything. He had everything planned. Oh, by the way, I went back and pulled up the play-by-play sheets of that game, and when he said go for it on 4th down, they were on their own 29 to 30-yard line. And by today's standards, there's not a coach in the world that wouldn't punt the ball or something. But Vince said go for it. But you got to understand, they didn't have kickers. The 2 guards were the kickers. One kick short, one kick anything over 30. They only kicked like 3 or 4 field goals the whole year. They'd already missed 2 in that game. They couldn't kick the ball. They couldn't kick. I think the longest they had 1 field goal over 30 yards they had made. Vince obviously had studied that team and knew the tendencies and knew what the limitations of the Baltimore Colts was. Landry and even the head coach Jim Lee Howell didn't even consider it. All they considered was we're on a 29-yard line. We got to punt the ball. You got to play the players. You can't just play situations. He knew that the chances of he had good chances he was going to make the first down. But if he didn't make the first down, he didn't think the Baltimore could kick a field goal and win the game. Because it was sudden death then. And that's how Vince was. Always prepared. Always ready. He always had a plan. And he worked the plan. And he won the game.
Incredible. Incredible. Dave, I want you to know we're going to be giving out in our group tonight. We have a full-size helmet signed by you. We also have a canvas signed by you. We're going to be giving out to our group members tonight, just because they appreciate you so much. And so, again, thank you for your time. You're a legend to all of us, and I'm sure thankful, and I have gratitude for you being part of our group tonight.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoyed it, and then call me again sometime. I'd love to talk to you.
I will. Let's make it happen. Maybe we'll get you and Chris on here and let you guys talk a little to each other, because he's a great guy.
He is.
I know he's watching right now too.
Hi, Chris. How you doing? I think I heard him say I can't kick.
That might be it. That might be it.
You look me up on the Google. It says linebacker kicker. I was a kicker too.
Were you?
Oh,
how about that guy you just went and saw in Canton?
Who?
Jerry.
Oh, Jerry was a kicker. Yeah. Jerry was a kicker also. Jerry kicked field goals. I was a kickoff man.
Okay. All right. Well, great.
But it still listed says kicker. blows people's minds. Say, I didn't know you were a kicker. Oh yeah, I said yeah.
I know.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And that's the thing. In those days, everybody did something. There's no such thing as not on the Green Bay Packer team where a guy was designated kicker until we got Don Chandler, and so everybody. Boyd Dowell was the punter. Max McGee was the backup punter. It's everybody did something. The real field goal kicker was Paul Horney, and Jerry was just the backup to Paul. Everybody did something.
Oh, Clay Matthews. Will we see Clay Matthews out there kicking anything?
The dirt.
The dirt.
No, I don't know. I don't know if Clay can kick or not. It wouldn't be much sense in it now, because who's it going to do? You got Crosby, a great kicker. So,
He is. All right, my friend. I will hit you up soon. We're going to have you on again.
Okay. I got to go. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Have a great evening.
All right. I'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, Utah. Have a good time.
All right, man.